Imagine pulling a human skull out of the ground that is 10,000 years old. No dentist ever touched it. No toothbrush ever scrubbed it. No toothpaste, no floss, no mouthwash. And yet, when scientists look closely at those ancient teeth, they find something that should be impossible. The teeth are almost perfect, barely any cavities. So here is the strange question that this video is going to answer. If ancient humans had none of the tools we think we need, why were their teeth so much healthier than ours? Because the truth is, the story of teeth is really the story of how we changed our entire way of living. And by the end of this, you might look at your own bathroom shelf a little differently. Let's start with what the evidence actually shows. When archaeologists study the remains of hunter-gatherers, the people who lived before farming, they find cavity rates close to zero. In some groups, fewer than 2% of teeth show decay. Compare that to today, where the vast majority of adults have had at least one cavity in their lifetime. Something clearly went very wrong between then and now. But to understand what, we have to understand what actually causes a cavity in the first place. A cavity is not really caused by dirt. It is caused by bacteria. Your mouth is home to billions of tiny microbes, and some of them love one thing more than anything else: sugar. When you eat sugar, these bacteria feast on it and produce acid. That acid slowly eats away at the hard enamel of your teeth, drilling tiny holes that grow over time. So the real enemy of your teeth is not a lack of brushing. It is a constant supply of sugar. And here is the key. Ancient humans almost never ate sugar. Think about what was actually on the prehistoric menu: meat, fish, nuts, seeds, wild vegetables, tough roots, maybe some honey if they were lucky enough to raid a beehive, and even then, only a few times a year. There were no candy bars, no soft drinks, no bread, no biscuits. The bacteria that cause decay were starving because the fuel they needed simply was not there. But it goes deeper than just avoiding sugar. The food itself was working like a natural toothbrush. Ancient diets were full of fibrous, gritty, tough foods. Chewing raw vegetables, fibrous meat, and coarse grains takes real effort, and all that grinding physically scrubbed the surfaces of the teeth as people ate. Every meal was, in a way, a cleaning session. The mechanical action of chewing hard food scraped away the sticky film where bacteria like to gather. Now, this does not mean ancient humans did nothing at all. They were not just lucky. Across the world, different cultures discovered their own clever ways to care for their mouths. One of the most common was the chewing stick. People would take a twig from certain trees, fray one end until it was soft and brush-like, and rub it against their teeth and gums. Some of these trees, like the one we now call the toothbrush tree, naturally contain compounds that fight bacteria. In other words, thousands of years before toothpaste, humans had stumbled onto a plant that did a similar job. Others chewed on resins and tree saps, a kind of ancient chewing gum. Scientists have actually found prehistoric chewing gum made from birch tar, complete with the tooth marks of the person who chewed it. Some cultures rubbed their teeth with ash, crushed shells, or abrasive herbs. These early powders gently polished the teeth and may have helped neutralize acid. So ancient humans were not ignoring their teeth. They were caring for them, just with the tools nature gave them. There is one more piece to this puzzle, and it is a fascinating one. The bacteria living in ancient mouths were different from the bacteria living in ours. Scientists have studied the hardened plaque on ancient teeth, which traps a frozen snapshot of the microbes that lived there. And what they found is that the modern mouth is far less diverse and far more dominated by the harmful, acid-producing species. Our diet did not just feed the bad bacteria. Over thousands of years, it slowly reshaped the entire ecosystem inside our mouths in their favor. So when did everything change? When did human teeth start to rot? The answer points to two great turning points in our history. The first was the invention of farming around 10,000 years ago. When humans began growing grains and starchy crops, their diets shifted towards soft, carbohydrate-rich foods. Starch breaks down into sugars, and suddenly, those acid-producing bacteria had a steady food supply. Cavity rates started to climb almost immediately. You can actually watch dental health decline in the archaeological record, lining up exactly with the spread of agriculture. The second turning point was far more recent and far more dramatic: the arrival of cheap, refined sugar. A few centuries ago, sugar went from a rare luxury to something poured into nearly everything we eat. Add to that soft, processed foods that require almost no chewing, and you have created a perfect paradise for the bacteria that destroy teeth. Plenty of sugar to eat and food so soft that nothing ever scrubs them away. Our teeth never stood a chance. And this is the great irony at the heart of the story. We invented the toothbrush, the floss, and the dentist not because we became more careful, but because we had to. We built a world so full of sugar and soft food that our teeth would crumble without constant defense. Your toothbrush is not the reason your teeth survive. It is the patch we use to survive a diet our ancestors never had to deal with. So the next time you stand at the sink with your toothbrush in hand, remember this. For most of human history, healthy teeth were not the result of scrubbing. They were the result of how people lived and what they ate. The ancient humans did not have better tools than us. They had a better diet. And in a strange way, every cavity is a tiny echo of the moment our species traded the wild for the field, and the field for the supermarket shelf. If this changed the way you see your own body, then you are exactly the kind of curious mind this channel is made for. We dig into the hidden story behind the everyday things you never think to question. So subscribe, and let's keep falling down the rabbit hole together. And tell me in the comments, what part of your own body do you want to understand next?